Hello and welcome back everyone to the day 2 for our HP UFT training. We are going to continue from where we left yesterday. So let's quickly open up a few things for us to go through that we've done since yesterday and then work on it from there. So we're going to quickly open up our previous test team that we did yesterday, the one which we created as Interact Test Case 001. We'll do a quick summary of what we did till yesterday and then start from there. So if you remember, we were talking about a project-based approach, and in the project, we started with an overview of what we're going to do. And for the first project, we're going to do some simple scripting, and we'll try and understand and master the whole concept of automation testing using unified functional testing. So action 1 was the code that got generated yesterday. So if you all remember, we did speak about how the automation testing tools tries to read and understand what is to be done. The first one in this is to be able to find out where it is going to perform a specific activity. The second is under your resources tab, object repository, or your shortcut key control R. That shows an object repository which stores the information. All right. So in this case, everything that we do on the application is stored as a specific object. We'll discuss about objects and so on as we go along. But for now, here is the information that is there that this test could store. So once we've seen that, we try to put our own comments here. And the way we put comments in VB script, sorry team, do you hear too much noise in the background? All right, so we said that each of the steps that we performed, we have now tried to identify it. Now let's take a deeper look at this itself, team. I'm going to try and increase the font a little bit more. That way the readability will be good for us. So I'm going to go to tools, options, and then click on text editor. Under this, let's go to fonts and colors, and size, let's make it at least 14. Anything bigger, there'll be too much scrolling to do. I also can pull the windows in such a way that we can have a better view of what we want to focus on. All right, so far so good with day 1, everyone. How did we generate this piece of code? We did a record and run. So once we did a record and run, that is how we are able to do it. Right? So when we did the record, the code got generated and the resources got added. Now, in this scenario, we are trying to log in into the application using specific amount of steps that we're running. If you notice, team, there is something very common with all of these. There is something that is one portion of it, which is saying that there is an object called link with the name login, which is inside a page with the name Interact Interactive, which is inside a browser with the name Interact Interactive. This is how it has stored the information. The second part to it is click. Click is basically talking about what is the method that we are performing on that object. So the first portion is to say where that object is located, and the second one is a method that we're performing on that object, which is click. So a very simple example, team, is let us say that we are at a home, inside a home, and I'm asking you to get a book. So what do I have to say? I have to say go to the master bedroom. In that master bedroom, go to the books cupboard, and you will find a book titled XYZ, and then you get that. This is how the instruction is given. This way, there is no confusion for the automation tool to understand what you're saying and be able to perform. But then, what is this browser and what is this interactive? Let's look at that. Every object has a type team. Let's look at very briefly what objects are and how we add the different types to it. All right. Every object has something called a type or a class of that object. It defines what that object is. It defines what that object is. Then there are certain things called properties which give it a specific shape to it. Then there is something called as method. It is what you can do over it. And then finally there is a name given to this object. All right. Simple example. Let us talk about a car. A car is a type or a class of an object. All right. Now let us say I call this as my car. Okay, I have my own car, Karthik's car, for example. In this case, this becomes the name of that object. But if I say my car, the next questions come as to what car is it, what is the make, what is the year, what is the model, what is the color. Then there are things like what is the license plate number, VIN number, and so on. All these are different properties. When I give a value to it, my car becomes more personalized. It is speaking about something very specific. So let us say it's got a different make. Let's say it's a Ford and it's a 2016 model. And it is a, I don't know what models we have in Ford. Let's say F-150 or F-350. Okay. And the color of that is, let's say, white. So as we fill the information, you will see that there's specific life being given to this object. So far it is my car, but when I start putting this information, you're able to imagine in your head as to what that car is. Exactly, right? And you may not be interested in license or VIN number as a friend, but then you will probably need it if you need to buy it or if you're planning to purchase it, depending on what we do. That what we do becomes your methods team. I can drive my car, I can park my car, I can sell my car, I can take it for a car wash, I can wash my car, and so on, right? I can fuel my car, put more gas into it, and so on. There are different activities you can do with the car. Now let's talk about a cell phone or a smartphone. With a smartphone, you can't do the same activities. Depending on the type or the class of the object, you are able to do certain activities. It all depends on its type and class. With a smartphone, what can you do? You can make a call, you can surf, you can use apps, you can text, you can watch videos, you can do your Facebook, all these things. The same things may not be. Could be they're common depending on some features and so on. But the type of that object defines what you can do with it. All right, and a smartphone has different properties. Make could be common, but yes, the value, instead of it being Ford, maybe it is, let's say, Samsung or LG. All right, and year and so on, different things vary. Instead of license or VIN, there is IMEI number and other identifications. Now this information becomes important when we talk about real life. At the same time, when we talk about even our programs, this is the same set of information that still is relevant to us. How is it relevant? In this case, if you notice that we have a browser. Inside a browser, you will find a page. Inside the page, you will find, let's say, a button or a link to click on. So we have a browser, a page, a link. Each of these are objects team. This is a parent object. This is a child. For this one, this becomes the parent. This becomes the child. So if you look at a typical browser, you have multiple pages in it, right? Tabs and so on. You can go from one page to the other. In that, you may have a button, you may have text field, you may have a link, you may have some text, you may have some image and so on, right? Each of these are contained in the other. So each of these are contained in one page and this is contained in one browser. Now what do objects have, team? Like I was mentioning earlier, remind me once, what are the three different things that, or four different things that objects have? What did I say in the previous screen? Do you remember? There is a type or class of that object. There are properties for that object, correct? What else? There are methods that we can run on that object. Yes, and what else? There's one more thing, important one. There is a name to that object, right? There is a name to that object because using the name itself is how we call that object. So there is a class, properties, methods, and a name. Now, a browser is a class browser. It is called as a browser class. Properties are different things that you will see as we go along. So depending on the type of the object, the properties also change. Method. We as humans, what can we do with a browser? We can open a browser. We can close a browser. We can navigate to a different URL. All of these, right? And there should be a name. Now, UFT needs to understand all of this. So since it understands Internet Explorer well, it'll take this information and it'll store it in the object repository. I didn't still figure out how to increase this font size, team. Let's see if I just do a little drag, drop. Is this legible for you guys? Why did they make it so small? I really don't understand. View, let's compact view, full view. Is it okay? You're still able to see it? You're not able to see anything here? Okay. I need to show these. So how do we do it? I think what I can do is maybe take a screenshot and alright, so at least can you see the object properties here? Can you see this portion, team? Alright, let's manage for now, team, because it is not easy otherwise. Now this is the object details, team. The first one is the browser object. So the name for that object that QTP or UFT automatically took using looking at some values in that application, it has named it as interact-interactive. The class for this is called as browser. There is something called as repository, which is local and shared and so on. So that we will come to later. But for now, just remember that it is associated with this program. Hence, that is why it is called local. Repository is nothing but object repository. The English definition of an object repository is something like where you put some objects or you have details about all your collection somewhere. Let us say you have warehouse and you stock a lot of stuff into it. Let's say like Amazon or Flipkart and so on. Now, for them to identify which aisle, which what box, where is that box located, how will it know? It has to know which warehouse, which aisle is it, and which row, which column, and then be able to go pick it up, correct? So all those details, it's going to maintain it somewhere, and that is a repository. So here it is an object repository. It's going to maintain all the details. Left side calls them as test objects. All of these are test objects. On the right side are details about it. Under this test object details come more description of properties. It is similar to the car thing I explained, make, color, model, year, and so on. All right. All that information, whatever is needed, it will capture and put it here. It doesn't have to necessarily capture everything. Enough to identify that object. So UFT's main purpose is to identify that object. For it to identify, it needs that information. So if it is a vehicle, if it knows the vehicle identification or VIN number, it should be sufficient. Sometimes depending if it's in a parking lot and your color is, let's say, some dark yellow or something, it is easier by using a color. So it smartly tries to identify this object wherever we put it. Okay, those values it will store it here. In this case, browser does not really matter. It just talks about something called as creation time, and that we will come to later. The focus is not right now on to the properties teams, not yet. We'll come to that. It is more on understanding the object. Now let's look at the name. If you see and notice, the name seems to be something is editable. What if I change it? I'll say IE, browser IE. Let us observe what happens to the code when I tab from this. Did you notice, everyone? For the browser IE, it has now changed the name of IE into the code. Why? Because the object repository is connected with the code. The code is actually trying to find out the address of that object like this. So the way it works is very simple, team. The first step, if you notice, is browser IE, right? So it goes to the object repository. It goes under test objects. It finds all objects of type browser. How many browsers are there in this? Only one, and that is IE. That is the name we gave. This is the same name here. It says, okay, matching, very good. Then it has to go to a page under it. So within that IE, when you click on the plus icon and expand the tree, you will see two more items rolling up, interact-interactive and interact-interactive 2. What are these? If you click on them, you will notice these are actually a page. It's a web page. So when we clicked on it, it gave it a name. I don't like this name. I want to give this as home page because that is where we click on login. And the second one is login page. Now the same thing happens here also in the code. The names change accordingly. Now it is more logical to us. It is also understood by UFT, but it is also easy for us to understand what it is. So browser IE.page home. Now it has come to home page. You understand, team? It is looking at information here and navigating here. So IE, next one is home. Is it of type page? Yes. But there are two pages, right? One is home and login. How does it know? So object class and the object name, this combination. In that it wants to find a link called login. Do we have a link called login? Is that name looking okay for us? Is it logical enough for us to understand? Yes or no, team? Please use your question and answer to answer this. Does this name seem logical? Yes or no? Yes, it's good enough, right? It's called login and we are trying to log in there. So that's great. Now, what are we doing on that? We are clicking on it. So this step will click on it. Next one, entering username. Where is it doing? Browser IE, same browser. Again, page login, same page. Oh, it is no more the login as an this one. Let me erase these drawings and draw again. So here home page is done. Only one object is there under it. What is that object? Login. Login is a link. Login, though it looks like a button, it is actually a link. It is designed to look like a button, but it is not a button, team. All right. Give me 1 minute, please, everyone. Team, can you hold on for one quick second? Sorry team, I'm back. Can you all hear me okay? Thank you all. All right, great. So now you see IE browser, home is a page, login is a link. So different class types. And depending on the class types, you can do certain things. Now, if it's a browser, you can do certain activity. If it is a page, you can do something else. If it is a link, you do something else. Now, do you understand the first step very clearly, team? Is it clear to understand the first step? How the code is linked from here. So it comes to browser, i.e. page home, link login. Then it identifies the object here. It looks at the name, the class is good. Now what it does is it takes this information here and it puts that information to search on the application. So if we go to our Internet Explorer and go to that URL, even yesterday this app took long on IE. I wonder why Microsoft could not still get a good hold on Internet Explorer as a browser. It's not that, anyways. Okay, so we have this. Now it could identify login. How? In case, if you're eager to know, you will see there are two description properties. There's something called as a text and HTML tag. So what it does is, this is how it navigates team. Okay. Step 1 is browser page link. Taking this information, it will look at that object in the object repository. Step 2, it will look at the properties that it stored when we did a record. Step 3, it will then go to the application and find that in there. How? Using certain properties. Where are these properties stored? They are there in the HTML code. So if you right click on that element or that object and click on inspect elements, or let's say properties. What is this? Let's see. No, it's just a simple one. And go to something called as inspect element. This is now a feature in almost every browser. So click on that. It is going to open up the HTML code and give you a view at the code for that specific area. Come on. So here in the whole HTML code, this is the one. In this, the first one after the less than symbol is called as the HTML tag. So for this specific object, it is A. A is a HTML tag for all links, and thereof basically anchor text for us. Okay. In this, the text is login. So if I say this was user login, then it will have a tough time finding it. If I say that the actual data is user login, see, as I changed it here, now it is user login. It is able to take and store the information when we did a record and put it. If someone goes and changes the application, it cannot find it and it will throw an error. Once it finds the object, then it performs the method on it. Simple team. This is the logic. As we go along, this will become more and more fundamentally clear. But this is how any automation testing tool will work. It has to know where that object is located using certain properties, type of the object and so on, and then go and perform that method. All right, now let's look at the second few steps, team. Let's go back to the code and look at the second two steps. What is the next one? Enter username. It is browser, page is different. It is web edit called login. So, sorry, it's called log. You see this? It's given a name called log. And here the type is text, name is log, HTML tag is input. The class is web edit. That is why class name within brackets, within quotes, the name of the object. So here I don't want it to call it log. It is username. Here password at least. So I'll just call this as uname. Why should I call it as log? So I'll call it as uname. And set is the method. Set as a method is performed on web edit where it goes and types information whatever you give after that. So here I said type Karthik Kosiredi. So it will go and type that information there. Now, whenever you see anything in your VB script, in your UFT, you can do a simple F1 on it. It will open up the internal help and it will show you what each and everything does. Now it talks about set method and it says the description sets the text inside the edit box. And how do we use it? What do we pass into it? And some examples and so on. Okay. So this way you're able to do learning as you keep practicing. Do not try and learn them. What are the different methods that are there and so on. Keep working on projects, keep practicing. At the same time, you'll also be able to learn what and how it is. When you need a reference, you can click on F1 to open the internal help. All right. This is the reason that these tools are all integrated into one. If you look at a tool like Selenium, all these features will not be available within it because for IDE, which is an integrated development environment, we use like Visual Studio if it's C#, or we will use Eclipse if it is Java and so on. In this case, it is all integrated into one tool. So it is completely all within this tool. We don't have to use anything externally. All right. Next one is enter password. So here again browser, page, web edit, but set secure. There's a subtle difference and I don't want you to really focus too much on it right now. But primarily what happens is when for password fields, QTP or UFT automatically encodes the password so that it's not clearly visible in the code. Okay, so the code, it is not visible. But when it puts it into the browser, it again decodes it. So first it will encode it and put it here. But since it's putting it into the application, it will decode. If I just say set secure instead of set, if I just say set instead of set secure, then it will take as is and put it. It will not do any decoding back. Since it has to do the decoding back, you will notice that we have to use set secure. So same thing, it does the same thing, but this will put it as is. This one will put it only as we go about after it decodes that value. All right. Then we have browser IE page login, web button login, click. So here is our code. We changed it a little bit. All right. So I'm going to save it as version 2. I'm just creating different ones _2. So you'll have access to each of these files team. Okay. Now that we've saved this code, let's try and execute and see if it works. So what do you think, team? Will it work? Let's close all the IE windows before. Now I'm going to run. You as automation test engineers will need to try and identify an issue before it may occur. So when we're writing our code or when we're doing these programs, simple ones, you would want to identify, hey, you know what, this may be an issue, and try and fix them as we go along. If that doesn't happen, then it'll throw an error. You should be good at reading that error, understanding what that error is, and making changes accordingly. All right, team? Okay, it's taking time, it's running. Which step is it on? It's still trying to do the first step. Let me see if it gave any error. Not yet. Now it gave me an error. It says cannot find the login object's parent IE. Do you see the difference, team? Earlier, it gave us a message differently. It said it could not identify the login itself in the application or something like that. Correct? But now it's saying it's not able to find the parent of this object called IE, which is IE, a browser. Why it can't find? Can you see it? We cannot see it as well, right? IE is not open. Even my taskbar, it is not here. So how do we do it? We have to get it open and keep it ready before we run the test. But that doesn't make sense. I want the script to do everything. That is the whole point of automation, right? What can we do? I'm going to stop this test. This is not correct. Okay. And I'm going to go to action 1 and put a step to do this. So a step which will open the browser and navigate to our URL is SystemUtil systemUtil.run, and we'll say this is iexplore.exe. This is the exe file to open Internet Explorer, comma, the application is http://interact.com/app. Now, there are two sets of information I gave in this statement. The first step is this keyword called systemUtil.run. The second one are two sets of data or input information. How do you know this? Now you know it because I told you. As we keep going along, I will keep introducing you to new things and you'll keep learning them, and that's your learning curve. So SystemUtil is basically saying that in VB scripting, in this system, there are some utility programs and I want to run that program. What is the name of the program? It is called iexplore.exe. iexplore.exe is the Internet Explorer executable file that is there stored in your system. And it is recognized as a utility command, utility file. So it is stored by this name. I don't need to give the entire path to where it is located. Comma, the second one is I'll open the browser, but I also have to go to the application. So here is the app. Now let us see if this happens. I only want to run the first step, team. I don't want it to run the step, the line number 5 or second step. Okay, this is the second step. Why? This is a comment, this is the first step, this is a blank, this is a comment, this is the second step. Why did I give spaces in between? So that it is more readable. Let me erase this drawing. Why is it there for so long? Now I want to only run this, but I want the step test to stop or pause out here. How do I do it? I right click on this gray area out here and say insert breakpoint. Do you see this? Breakpoint is like a stop sign, team, just like what you see at your intersections where there are no signal lights. So if it's a green, you go forward, but this is a stop sign. You will pause, wait, stop there, see left, right, ahead, make sure there are no pedestrians, and then cross. So here the same thing concept is applied in the program. The test will stop, we will observe what we want to observe, then say go or no go. Understood? So how do we do it? Right click in the gray area and say insert breakpoint. Why did it go away? Because you click on it once, it will insert, the same command again will remove it. So you have an option to insert and you have an option to remove a breakpoint. So right click and do it. Where? In the gray area besides the step. I think you can also do it here. Even on the step number you can put it. Don't have to be on the gray area alone. Okay. I don't think you can do it here. In fact, even here you're able to do it. Let's try. So I'll right click on the step and say insert remove breakpoint. Yeah, we're able to do it. So anywhere on the step, team, not just here. So anywhere on the step, or just click on it out here. You don't even have to right click. In the gray area, just click on it. It'll put a breakpoint. Now let's see, team. Save this again and rerun the test. Now what do I expect? I expect the first step to get executed and it should hopefully open the browser and navigate to interact.com/app. Did it do that for us? Great, fantastic. So we have this application now with us. Okay, so I moved the application to one side and UFT to the other side. Now we are ready to execute step number 5. At this point, team, I can click on run and go run all the steps, or I can go step by step. Okay, so I can go step by step and run one step at a time. To do that step-by-step run and observe as things happen so that we don't have to go very fast on it, I just say step into this step. So click on that. It'll try to click on login. Why is it taking so long? Whenever automation script is taking long, there is some issue for it to identify this. This should have worked. There should have been no issue here. Sometimes I deliberately put some errors, team, but a lot of times I don't put an issue. I mean, sometimes, but a lot of times even I get an issue which I'm not having a ready answer. But that's when our experience comes in as to how do we go about solving it. Let's see. It's taking too long. Why is it taking so long before it throws an error? That is not correct. Cannot find login objects parent IE class browser. You just opened it. Come on. It is right here. Why can't you find it? I can see it. Why can't you see it? This is interesting. I'm going to say retry team. It's still saying the same thing. It cannot find the object itself. Why? It is here. What is wrong with UFT about this? I'm going to stop this test. It's taking too long before it throws an error team, and that's not good. Why? Because UFT is working on a web-based application or any application. It knows that sometimes it takes time for the application to load. So it doesn't want to throw an error before the application is loaded, and hence it will try and wait for a certain period of time before it gives up. That period, that timeout, is provided in the properties for your solution. So you right click on your solution and go to settings, and in the settings you have multiple things on the left side. All right, go to your run settings. This is where we say how the run happens. The data table iterations, don't worry, we'll come to it later. And all of this team, UFT gives you two options. Either use all the features that it gives you out here, or primarily focus and do it using your code. Which one will be focus on, team? Will we use more tool level features, or will we use more scripting programming level features in this training? Which one do you think we will use? Code level, scripting level, very little on the tool level. Why? Because when you go for an interview, that is the first thing anyone is going to check. Did you actually do a code, or did you just use the features? Which is easier to use? Maybe tool, right? It's just got push this button, do that, and so on. But why do you need to do it scripting level? Because we are building solutions, and to build these GUI test solutions, you want the ability to know things at length. So as part of the training, it is very important that we go very deep into the code level understanding. All right. So now we will go to run, and all these things, data table and all that, I'll show you at a code level how we go about achieving it. The object synchronization timeout is the main culprit team. So it is saying wait for 10-20 seconds. That is too long. I'll just say wait for 8 seconds, more than enough. I know my application will load fast and so on. I'm confident. So I'll just say 8 seconds, apply this and say okay. How did I get there? Right click on the project or solution, go to settings, go to the run tab, because it is part of run, and we are saying that object synchronization timer is set to 8 seconds. That's how we did it. Okay. Now let's rerun this, but this is sickening as to why it didn't happen. I'm going to remove the breakpoint once and just see if it works okay, because UFT is opening the application, and application is now there. It should be able to see the login link very soon as soon as they uploads, but it's already getting to that 8 seconds time zone, which is not correct, because once 8 seconds is over, this running will stop and it will throw the error. It's still saying waiting for interrupt. This app opens so quickly. It still says it cannot find the object's parent. Oh, come on. Let's do one thing. I'll just comment whatever code I wrote, team. Okay. Whatever code I wrote, I'll comment. Let's go back to how we were doing it earlier. I'm going to close this. Maybe it's a version issue, and we'll figure out how to handle that, and open up IE. And now I'm going to go to interrupt.com/app. This application loads at lightning speed on other things. I wonder why is it slow here as well. I think it's slow. Is my server slow where these are hosted, or let me close some of the other applications. No, Okay, there you go. It's come now. File to bad gateway again. Something to do with the server team. So it was not a browser issue. So it is definitely to do with the server. So I'm gonna minimize Chrome. I have this application open. So earlier, if you remember team, this is how we were doing it, right? So we kept the browser open. Now I commented the one which opens it, and then we went about doing it. So let's try and continue it this way. We'll figure out why and how that happened later. So it should click on login right now. Okay, the username web edit object was not found in the object repository. So what is the error team? It could not click on login, is it? Now you tell me what the error is. Where did it occur? Did it occur on line number 5? Yes or no? Which line number? That is the first thing. And this is a deliberate error that I put. It occurred on line 8. Where do you notice that? Out here. Line 8 where browser IE page login web edit username set to Karthik Kosiredi. This is the issue. Now let us look at the error. Do you see the object team username? Yes. So the login, clicking on the link login worked. All right. Do you see the line here? Yes. And the object is also there. So it should have picked it up. Something else is there. Now let's go and read what it says. The username or uname web edit object was not found in the object repository. Why does it say in the object repository? It should say it didn't find it in the application. So this seems to be a different type of an error. It did not find that in the object repository. Where is our object repository? I'll just put it to debug right now. So go to resources and say object repository. And out here, we're looking at home. No, we're looking at page called login. Under login, we're looking at uname. Where is uname? There's no uname here. Why? Because I changed the name in the code. I did not change it in the object repository. This was an error. I made a deliberate effort to put it in. So we understand how they work correctly. Here, you're supposed to change it here. You cannot go and change it here. Once you change it here, then that same name is not here. If you change it in the object repository, wherever it is being referred in the code, it will go and change it there. That is how it works. Very simple concept. You should not change the names of the object in the code. Change it in the object repository. Because here it is trying to go and search in the code, in the object repository, right? So uname, so we will go here, click on this log, which is related with the username, and call this as uname. Okay. Now, hopefully it should work. So let's go back and rerun. Let's go to the home page again for the app and run this. So yes, SystemUtil.run did have an issue team. There's no question about it. Why? Because though it launched the browser and it navigated, the code was still unable to find the application in the Windows platform. Now it entered the username. Let's see if it enters the password. Yes. And it will click on the login button. And what do we expect to see now? We expect to see that it logs in. It did not log in. Why? It did not log in. Why, team? What could be the reason that the login did not happen? Anytime you see an error coming across, always remember that there could be multiple culprits because of which it happened. The first culprit is that the application itself is at fault, and your duty is to find any defects in this and report it. Correct? So should we go to the developers right away and say, you know what, your application is faulty? Should we? Is that the right thing to do as of now? No. Why? Because if they go about retesting it and then they find that it is not an error, we will look like fools. And it is not our idea to look like fools. We really want to showcase our skills and talents. Correct? What is the other option then that it could have gone wrong? whatever you did in your coding, in your VB script, you could have done something wrong there, right? There's a possibility that an error occurred here also. Where, like earlier, instead of changing the name log there, I change it here. We cannot go and report there. The other thing could be your data or the information that you provided for that application. Typically your test data could also be incorrect. And that could also be a fault. So number one, make sure your test data is correct. Number two, make sure your code is correct. Number three, when you know that this and this are fine, then you go about saying, you know what, looks like an application error. And then you retest it and then submit it as a defect. Till then you don't want to do anything immature or what do you say? It's not necessary to be very proactive out here. You have to make sure you investigate, find the correct reason, and then go about doing it. All right. So in this case, the password I gave itself is incorrect, and that is fine. But I want to ensure to see that login does not happen. I am saying that this test case is to test with incorrect set of data. So what should happen out here? It should show this specific value. Login authentication failed. This message should come. So here, this step, I want this message to come up. Must show up. Oops. All right. Then I can say. Now, how do we do this? Very quickly, team. I'm not going to take too long to show this right now because we're almost towards the end of the session as well. The first thing is what, team? What do we need to do? If I want to write a new piece of code, what should I be doing? What is the step one? You remember the two W's that we spoke about yesterday? What are those two W's, everyone? The where and the what. Where is that object located? What is it that you want to do on it? So, do you know where is it located? It is located in the application. But who should know this? The script should know. How will it know? Unless it is there in the object repository, it will not know. The only other alternate is you use descriptive programming. So in the object repository, is that object there? No, it just has login, password, username. What do we want? We want this element also to be there. What do you think is the type of this element, team? Is it a link, a button, a web edit field, an image? It looks like text. Now, when I did a record, happily it added, but this time I don't see it to be adding it. What do? I have the option to add an object directly to the object repository. How do I do it? If you go and look under object, you will see add objects to local. Why is it called local, team? Like I said earlier, there's a local and there's also a shared object repository. We have not yet discovered what is shared object repository, but we know what a local is. Local is, this is localized to this specific test. It is not applicable for any other test. So it is available linked with this. So I can add an object to local. So when you click on add objects to local, automatically your cursor, your window UFT becomes minimized and your mouse pointer changes. So I want to click on IE. So I'll click here. What does it say? It says object selection, add to repository. This is what it found. It found a window, name window, bin object called running applications. Is that what we wanted? No. Why? We clicked out here. We are supposed to click out here. But why did this get minimized? How do we take care of it? Go back to object. Go back to object. Sorry. Click on add objects to local and your mouse will automatically change. So if you want to use your mouse as a regular mouse, keep your control key pressed, keep it pressed, minimize the windows that you don't need. Then come to the application, release the control key from your keyboard and click on what you want to add to the local. Now it says page interactive app for training. Is this what we want to add? No, again no. Object, add objects to local, login authentication failed. This is what we want. It still is saying page. I'm clicking on this. Why is it saying page? So something is not correct out here, team. One of the primary reasons that this can happen is if your browser's zoom setting is not set to 100%. Though you're pointing somewhere, it may be looking somewhere else. So you can go under settings, and if you look at zoom, it's 200%. It is zoomed to 200%. Get this to 100%. I think the whole issue is with my system's settings itself. I'll go and change it. But now I should be able to go back and say add objects to local, and now click on this login authentication failed. Now do you see browser interact, page interact, web element login authentication failed. So it's a web element. Anything that it sees as a text, QTP or UFT automatically adds it as a web element. Now if I don't have a browser with the name interact, page with the name interact, there's a login page and so on, and I don't have web element, I want to add this. How do I do it? Okay, if I click on OK, maybe it'll add all of them. Let's see. There you go. It has actually added really all of them. I didn't even expect it to do it. I assumed it'll do it out here. That is the right thing. So now I want this under the login page itself, but maybe it is navigating to a different one, so I'll not do anything too much with it. Now I want to know if this one exists or not. I want to know if this comes out after we click on login. It may take some time, so I will say wait for 5 seconds before it goes to the next step. This step here is a simple VB command that helps us to wait X seconds on that step. Now I wrote this wait, but you are seeing it for the first time, let's assume. How do you get some more details of it? Team, another 3-4 minutes and we'll end this session, okay? How do you go about finding more details of it? F1 key, exactly. You go to your help. How do you do it? Click on wait and then say F1. And it'll take to your wait statement description out here, and it'll tell you exactly. Initiates a pause during a run session. As simple as that. So now we're waiting for 5 seconds, and then we want to authenticate this. First, I need that object team. So how do I write browser? As soon as I write browser, I have two browsers now. One is IE Interact. Maybe it is the same browser, but it is recognizing it with two different names. But now I have to be clear what I want. I want this dot page, because we know we need a page. So which page? What is it? Dot page. Interactive. How did it come automatically? Because there's only one page in it. Dot, which one now? The type of that object. Do you remember the type of the object when it got added to the repository? What was the type, team? The type or the class of the object, what was it? Web element, exactly. It was not called text. Though it is text, the way it is named, it is called web element. Let's say, for example, when the cars were invented, someone, instead of calling it a car, they call it a czar. We would have calling it a czar as well, correct? So it was named that way. So they continue to use it as web element, and that is a simple text. So now I say dot web element. As soon as I open bracket, team, automatically that will come up. Why? Because there's only one web element object in that object repository path. Now I'll say dot. Dot in this case basically says I can see what I can do on this object. So far we're trying to get to the object. It is where. This object is also stored in the object repository. That is why it's able to capture that information and get it into the script. Now, here are the various things you can do. This specific icon, which is like a brick with a motion sign, is signifying that you can do something on it. All right. You are able to perform an activity like what? Capture bitmap, check property, child objects, click, double click, and so on. Various activities or methods that you can perform. Depending on the type of the object, it changes. All right. Now I want to see if this object exists or not. How do I go about seeing if it exists or not? Here it is. Do you see exist? Maybe this one, I am not too sure, but let's see. So I just click on exist one time and it gives me a tip bar or tool tip saying checks whether the object currently exists in the open application. Great. I will select that. Now I have this step. Now if I run this, let's see what happens, team. Everyone with me now? Team, another 2 minutes please before we end the session. And I'm taking a little longer, but it was important to cover all these aspects. So rerun the test. Let it go through the entire execution again. So it is trying to execute the first login. Click on login. It would have done it by now. Now it has entered the username password, clicked on the login, and it has gone to wait for 5 seconds. Now it is ready to execute step 19. We should see some kind of a result out here, right? If it passed or it failed. We get something called object doesn't support this property or method dot exist. It says this object does not support this property or method. That is not making sense, right? Everything it gave, how can it stop me from doing it at the end? It has to continue to help me out there. That is where we'll use a simple if statement. See? And we'll call if a statement is true, then we do something, else we do something else. Now I'm going to quickly write the statement and just put it up there. But when we come back for day 3, we'll look into it. I don't think it is about the object not doing it. Exist as a method. So if I do F1 on exist, it will tell you that checks whether the object currently exists in the open application. I'm going a little fast, but I'll repeat this specific portion when we come back later, okay, on day 3. So it does take specific timeout if you want. That's the parameter. And where is that? It is a Boolean value. It returns some value out of it. So for example, you should be able to see, where is it? There's no sample code, is it? Check whether a browser window exists. See if so-and-so dot exists, then message box. This is the kind of code that we are also trying to write now. So here I'm going to say if this object exists, then I will put a message box saying yes, or we'll say the test is a pass, or I will say the test is a fail. These are the 2 options that I want to show. So far we have just done a few things. We've understood about object repository. We've understood about how the VB script simple code works, how the script and the repository are linked to each other. We didn't really go through the properties thing yet. We looked at how the applications can throw error or the test runs can throw error and how we go about identifying. And we saw the different types of methods that you're able to perform on some of these objects. And now we're saying it's a negative test case where we're giving incorrect data and expecting it to fail. And message box pass is if that exists, then it's a pass, else we're saying it's a fail. How is this if statement? How do we work with? Very simple as you see. But I'll walk through this at length on day 3 again. All right. Now I am going to run this test and see how it works. So let's get this back to the home page. Okay. And let's rerun this test. So while this test is running, team, please take a few seconds and put any questions that you have on what we did so far in day 1 and day 2. All right, there you go. It's a pass. So it did find that. Now this message box can be closed by saying OK. Message box is a simple thing which takes a message that you give and puts it up for you to see it on the screen. Unless you click on OK, it will not go to the next step. So if statement and message box will evaluate more. Exist also will do more in day 3. Any questions on what we did from day 1 to day 2, please? Do we need access to this application? So Biplav, I will come to all the questions. You don't have to put it 5 times out there. All right. Yes, you will get access to the application when we get into it. But for now, interapp.com/app is available publicly for you to see, and you can play around with it. Maybe the same script, you don't have the right credentials. Once we get into the sessions from day 3 onwards, I'll provide you the credentials. All right. Any other questions, team? Day 3 will most probably be next week, team. I just want to make sure that everyone has been informed and they register, because these were the demo sessions. Day 3 onwards, we'll get more. We'll continue from where we left, but then those will be the premium sessions. So it should be early next week. I do know that there's a July 4th week coming up, so I want to make sure that that doesn't interrupt with our current thing. Like Elizabeth, I said, I will come back to you on this. Yes, at same time, but the date and timing we'll have to reconfirm with you all. So team, you've seen this. The videos are recorded and hosted on our website, ITeLearn.com. They're also there on the YouTube channel. You should definitely go there and watch it again as a practice. And you can try and download the trial version like it showed in orientation session and be able to start practicing till what I've shown. Then when we come back from day 3 onwards, you can start doing it on a regular basis. All right, team, looks like that's about it from my side for today. And we will continue to see you on day 3. Thank you so much for attending these demos. Look forward to the next ones. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back in day 3. Thank you, everyone. Bye then.